Okay, we move on. We move forward. Commission bylaws and commission support. I've seen some of the commissioners up taking care of informally managing your break. That's great. We'll just be informal here and we'll go to the
So I'm going to try to keep mine brief as well. So I'm glad that Colleen was able to come. So she's our new partner in the city attorney's office. As you know, you met John before. You met John before, and he's left the city of San Jose. So we've had a little bit of a revolving door even with the city attorney's office, right? But it's great to have Colleen, who I think is going to stay for a while. And even though we've all gone through the Brown Act trainings before, it's good to just get a refresher delivered differently, right? And we always have questions. I mean, look what happened today. And so the next piece on the agenda, and I'll just, I'm not going to put it up because I really want to go quickly. It's only 4 slides. But the piece is around commission bylaws and public meeting support. So I've been trying to find bylaws for the commission. Oh, I'm sorry. Put them off. And somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but because I just have not been able to find this in our archives, but it appears that this is the only commission that doesn't have bylaws. Again, very unique, right? So this is a great opportunity, this retreat, to begin to put some focus into what the commission bylaws will look like. The good news is that the city clerk's office is part of the streamlining effort for to make the commissions more standard, in terms of everything from the way that they operate to the way that agendas are posted, templates for everything. I mean, honestly, the city clerk's office put a lot of time into this. They've also created bylaw templates, which I'm going to pass out right now. Now, we don't have time today to spend, we're not going to spend creating the bylaws today, but I wanted to at least plant the seed.
Zolma,
This is something.
Zolma, can I ask?
Yeah.
Harry's like super passionate about bylaws. Would you be willing to take a 30-second question from him?
Let's take a quick question.
Just he's like his life is bylaws, like so short.
We're sorry to hear that,
We're
Harry.
so sorry to hear that for all of us. But just short question.
If we can already use existing bylaws from existing commissions,
Yeah, and I think
and
that's
how
what
do we get that information from their bylaws so we can copy and paste
Here it
and
is.
then
Look,
improve?
Harry,
So the
she's
city
answered your
clerk's
question.
office took the best stab at looking at all the commission bylaws and created something that not only complies with our policy 0-4, but complies with all the other policies in municipal code. So they want all the commissions, in fact, other commissions might be looking at their bylaws to make sure that they're within these standards.
I think it's a good topic for an ad hoc.
Yeah.
Actually, when this was evolving and the commission restructuring was going on, the Neighborhoods Commission did submit their own bylaws. Okay, so we've been through this process, and I can dig it out, I'll send it on to you.
Yeah, and apparently it was never approved.
No, it just died, it just disappeared.
That gets
But
back to your
you can
question
have
on
the thinking, you know,
Yeah, and I
Gets
found,
back.
I found a draft.
to your question on that.
But we
Yeah.
still have to follow the city
Yeah.
clerk's position on making this a standard template.
So we'll stand down now. Perry has his question answered.
But,
We'll
so
listen
anyhow,
to
but I
that.
just wanted to plant the seed that this will be a good next step for the fall, right? So we have to add this for, down the road. But basically what this says is that, all commissions have to operate under this standard set of bylaws, and they have to be approved by the Rules and Open Government Committee, and then sent forward to the City Council for approval. So that is a big to-do for our office and for this commission, the City Attorney's Office and the City Clerk's Office, to come together and come to some agreement on what these look like. On the second page of this sheet that I handed out, the slides, the commission bylaws essentially have these components, and they seem very self-explanatory. Some of them are just the general provisions, which is why do we exist, where is the office, the fact that regular meetings ought to take place, standards, right? Standards that are already in the policy 0-4. It talks about the secretary duties, which you'll find right below, in the slide below, which is be a member of city staff, attend our meetings, and then it says including subcommittee meetings, but this is only if it's a standing meeting. We don't attend your ad hoc meetings, right? That would take additional staff time.
The only exception to that was the UAS or things like that that have a large public outreach. So we did have some off-site meetings.
Yeah, there are some
but that was the
exceptions.
exception, but
Yeah.
you're right in what you said about ad
Right.
hocs.
Prepare the meeting agendas, so that they're in alignment with the work plan, ensure meetings are effectively organized and recorded, maintain effective records, which meaning that, that everything is posted online for public view. Like all your ad hoc reports, those get uploaded for public view. The city council members know where to access that information, but clearly we need to do a better job of making sure they're looking at it, right? And making sure that we're getting that in front of them. And the other piece is manage communication and response. And so what I wanted to say around that particular last one is that we, the city manager's office, recognize that we have not provided excellent customer service to this commission. And part of it is our own revolving door and the way that we staff this commission, right? So, as you know, in the last presentation I gave, I was appointed director of the Office of Immigrant Affairs with a lot of collateral duties, and the two commissions plus other grants and so forth are part of my duties. At the same time, as you all know, Ernest, had some illness issues, and I just to tell you that he has retired. He has decided to separate from the city. He can no longer come back to work, and that's a personal decision. So now we're, at least we know where that stands. And at the last meeting, you met Sabrina. Mm-hmm. So Sabrina will hopefully be the content and the point of contact, the contact for you all moving forward. But what we discovered during the time that Ernest was on leave, intermittently, on medical leave, we had a couple of people from the city attorney's office involved, Michelle McGurk, myself, Nivea, an intern at one point. I don't even know who else, but within all of this, there are some areas that, there are some large gaps. But what we had to do is go back to all of the emails, and that's where we discovered that there was, out of 20 members of this body, there were a lot of emails being pushed around through different staff members across the city. Certainly the city attorney's office was getting overwhelmed with the number of emails. The city clerk's office was also mentioning that there was a lot of emails coming from this commission. We were, and at one point, one of the staff members in the city manager's office decided to create a neighborhood staff commission email so that we can control the volume. Okay, so I'm not making this up, and this is why that issue of staffing came up, because it's not just Ernest, and we went through all of his emails recently, and this is a full-time job, and it can't be, because we all have a lot of additional responsibilities. There is not one commission in the city that has a full-time employee designated to it. We all have a lot of work, and so while it seems like, wow, this is just rudimentary stuff, like this is all you do is you post and you, there's a lot of background work that's being handled in between meetings, as well as coordinating with the other departments on particular ad hoc items or particular meeting agendas. So I just wanted to maybe amplify your horizon on what it takes on our side. It's not just one person, and there's not a full-time person, but it's multiple offices that are involved in serving this commission. But I own the fact that we have not served you well because we have had intermittent, people. But I do believe now Sabrina is in Ireland right now on her honeymoon, and that's okay. But when she returns, she understands the obligation to this committee, and we've talked about it before that that this is going to require really getting back to the history on what this is all about and how we can serve the commission better, but also monitoring the amount of time that's being pulled away from other things. So there are a lot of questions. And we're going to try to get it done in 5 minutes. So let's just go around.
Okay. Yeah, start here. Go ahead.
So mine is just a comment. So maybe later when we discuss, I too worry, are we being efficient? Are we really being efficient? And how many departments are we impacting? And for example, from my work plan, I thought, am I going to pepper a state department with 10 emails and then involve these other people? Or am I going to be efficient? And I'll bring that back up when we talk later.
How many emails in total did you guys receive?
We're still counting because it's the attorney's office. The previous one we haven't gotten the previous attorney that we haven't received numbers for. Hundreds, maybe. Could be. I'm not sure. We have to know obviously by the time the memo is out to the city council.
But
we've been asked.
If it's
hundreds, each of us.
It's in the hundreds,
For
right?
sure.
Per staff person.
Are you going to respond to those emails?
No,
It's probably like the guy who's leaving in jail.
no.
Moving
No.
forward, we have to, right? If there's one person
Right.
responsible for checking that email and being the liaison with departments, with the council offices, with the attorney's office, with the clerk's office, and Roberto, and myself, that's Sabrina. She will have to be doing that, but anything prior to February, I can tell you, we're just
No,
gonna have to,
don't.
we're not looking at it anymore.
No.
So I appreciate you explaining, the mechanics of what you're doing, and I appreciate you being here to do that. So now is Sabrina the one that's going to be filtering all of our emails, going through one channel,
That's correct.
right? And hopefully get through, all of our questions, because I know this group has a lot of questions all the time. So how far back are you backlogged in your emails for answering questions, or is that an easily answered question?
I'm not sure. That's
So-
why I was kind of giving that February timeframe.
Right.
Anything beyond that, we have to start.
Right, so how can we help you with
Yeah.
that?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, maybe we could, maybe,
Well, from here forward, just, first of all, number one, use your city assigned email address and email directly to staff,
Okay.
which is Sabrina will be checking her box. And then we could, because sometimes they were going to different people plus the city one. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I do.
different commissioners, personal email plus the city designated,
Right.
plus the neighborhood staff, plus Sabrina or Lydia or myself.
Right. And I know that's
So
going to be
it's
cleared
really
up a little bit
difficult to
because most of us do have our city assigned emails, so you'll be getting that from most days.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe it's gonna get better just by having one person look at this and handle
Yes.
this and being the conduit, the liaison with everybody else.
And just real quick, what might be helpful, as Sabrina gets into this and gets some rhythm to this, she might have some suggestions to you and be able to answer that question. Here's how you can help me be a little bit more efficient with this. That's good. I'm sorry, you were up next.
Yeah. So, totally sympathetic with what you're saying, and what you just said was that, you can't dedicate a full-time person to this commission, and I understand because you have the other commission demands and all that, so I don't have any issue with that. I think what I'd like to see is if you can tell us how much time can be allocated to the commission, and then also with Sabrina coming on board, I'm assuming you're going to develop some workplace instructions as to how she's got to interface and operate with this commission, okay, and what her duties are going to be specifically, and then how we can interface with those instructions, so how she's got to work with us. And we could probably come out with a meaningful work relationship, which will minimize the demands on their time.
Yeah.
But we don't know what those parameters, see, here's the problem, is we don't know what the parameters are.
Yeah,
We don't know
we've
the
asked
do's
this-
and the don'ts.
Yeah.
If we're bombarding you with emails, excessive emails, that can be filtered, okay? We can prioritize emails and say, hey, this is something that needs to be addressed by Sabrina, or this can be handled at a meeting or something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
If you
that's
get a
arrangement
handle on
labor
that
is
kind of
something-
stuff, a lot of this goes away. But we need to know, I need to know, I would like to know, how much time you're gonna give me. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? You gotta
Yeah,
give me
that's
a-
an excellent question.
I don't know.
So we've asked around prior to this retreat about other commissions, and the clerk's office was trying to get information as well. Nobody's really tracking, there isn't a standard for how much time, because nobody's really tracking that. And I would hate to put us in a box, so it's, well, our 15 hours, the city attorney, city clerks, my time, everybody,
Sure.
that's up, we're done, we're not listening anymore. We can't
But
do
knowing
that.
on your end, see, we don't know what your end is. See, you're, for want of a better, you're kind of like a black hole. We don't know what it takes for you to do your job effectively to
And
serve
I'm not sure
us.
that we do either, because we haven't had a
Well, but
consistent
we can
person.
work on that.
Yeah.
We can work on that.
Yeah, exactly. That's good, Nicole.
so I want to acknowledge you for taking responsibility for the last year. It's been rocky on our part and your part. I just really want a huge amount of respect for you standing up and saying that. And it takes a lot of courage and integrity. One quick thing I wanted to say, when we met with Sabrina, it was a great meeting, and afterwards we talked about these ad hocs and her passion and her enthusiasm for something like an onboarding process where we would work through the mechanics of what Gary's talking about. How much time? Who are the people? Here aren't the people. Don't call this person. They don't have time to talk to you. But definitely, here's a liaison. And so I think it's not about time. I think it's the amount of friction and noise. So what I hear, if you're telling me that 5 people in the city have received hundreds of emails from probably 5 people. It's not about the workload, it's about the friction and the noise that takes, and then the inadequacy I think that creates in your response, your feelings of not being able to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And I don't think that makes for, that's not the right vibe that we're looking for to create with you. And so I think going forward, operationalizing is going to be one of our focuses, and we've already started to do that internally, and I think just partnering with Sabrina and the city, understanding in advance, part of that onboarding would involve meeting with Colleen. All right, what are the rails? What's the box that we're in? We won't violate it, and we'll push the boundaries of it because times demand that. So I think, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic about Sabrina.
Yeah.
She gets it.
She does. She's personally passionate about this.
Great.
Thank you.
Do we have one more question?
Yeah, I was just trying to minimize managed communication and correspondence. So if we use our Neighborhoods Commission email, we don't CC staff, but it's an email to say Pete. Is that within scope there, or do we save you sometimes, Sabrina, some time by not CCing the staff? You don't care about emails between us?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't create a meeting.
Yeah, leave it standing aside. Okay.
Absolutely.
Send Pete hundreds of emails.
Actually, that's one way to be efficient, right? If you can handle that internally within the scope of the Brown Act, of course, if you can handle that internally, that would be a way of, and then you have to make that judgment. Does staff need to know this, or is it something just within?
But there's a lot of preliminary things we can get answered between ourselves before we get staff involved.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move forward
Thank
here.
you, Solma.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, one more and then.
Come on, guys. Come on.
I know. I was just running some numbers here though, and I mean, if you guys received 1,000 emails in the last 6 months, right? And divide that by number of weeks, number of commissioners, that's 2 emails a week. Is that unreasonable?
John.
1,000 is unreasonable.
It's the friction, not the quantity.
Oh, it sounded like it was the quantity because they have a backlog, right? So.
Yeah,
Come on, we're going to end on a high note here.
You got to open up 1,000 emails.